Alrighty. Welcome if you are joining us from home. Happy to have you guys back in the room, kind of. We'll take some time here to do our warm-up problems. If you want to head to Notability and draw your window box. It's in your math folder. Alrighty. Let's talk about our problems real quick, just so you know what you're doing. Okay, that top black problem, just another stack math problem. Make sure you stay on the side of the line that you're working on. Okay, we don't cross over the line. The bottom black problem, a story problem. You might want to think about those numbers. You don't have to write the whole thing down. Just if you want to write down the important numbers, then do your think. Is it a takeaway or add some more problem? The top blue problem, make the alligator mouth or the equal sign right. Just fill in those boxes. You're probably gonna have to draw that all in so you can fill in the boxes. And then the bottom blue is patterns. Okay, try to figure out how big of a jump do we have to make. Give you guys some quiet work time to get these done. You guys are working quietly. I'm gonna raise your hand if you need some help. Come around and help. Yeah, on the story problem, if you just want to write in the problem and the answer, you don't have to write down the whole sentences. I squeezed it in there. If you can't do that so easy, then just write whatever problem you think is the right problem, and then what the answer is to it. Keep working. You got time to figure it out. Keep working. You're not all the way finished. If you have trouble fitting it in the box, just right off to the side or down below is okay. I just use the box so you can tell what problem we're working on. Just to keep us organized. For those of you at home, probably should have said this earlier. A couple of students told me it was easiest to do it on paper and pencil if you have that at home, or if mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever's with you has another device and they want to pull up the video so you can work on your iPad, or if you pull up the video on your iPad and work on their other device, okay, whatever you can do to follow along. Looks like we're getting close to being done. We will go over these in just a minute. If you're having trouble fitting things in, see if you can make your pen a little smaller. See, some people are using the big, thicker dot for their pen. If you pick one of the smaller ones, it'll write smaller for you. And for everybody at home, if I start going too fast and you need a second to think about something, just hit the pause button. YouTube should let you hit play again. It'll pick you up where you left off and you can catch back up later. So if you joined in late and you need more time to do these problems, just go and hit pause when we start. All right, finish up the one you're on. We'll get started here in just a tiny bit. If you're not all the way finished, that's okay. We'll talk about all of them together. Alrighty, let's start going over these. If you could take your hands off your iPad so I know you're not playing around. I know you're listening. Be ready to answer questions because I'm going to call on everybody. Let's start in this top black box. Okay? We'll start over here on the subtraction side of things today. Okay? So I saw a couple of you were confused when you saw 7 take away 7. Okay, think about it with your fingers. Okay, put up 7 fingers. If you put down 7 fingers, how many do you have left?
0.
0. Okay, it might seem a little tricky because you're not used to having 0 as an answer, but if you take away everything, okay, you got 0 left. And then what does 7 take away 4, Eli? 3. So you get 30. We don't need to shout yes when we get it. And then over on the addition side of things, okay, we've got 3 plus 5 on that side of the line. Who can help me with that one? Hannah? 3 plus 5?
3 plus 5 equals
8. Very good. And then on the other side, Gracie? 9. So we get 98. Very good. Let's go over to the top blue one next. All right, so I see that I've got my alligator mouth and it is facing that box. So do I need a bigger or smaller number in the box, Peyton? What bigger number did you use? 100 is way bigger, so that definitely works. Okay? Any number that is bigger than that 17. And then I see an equal sign. So what does that mean that I need, Eli? 2 numbers that are what? The same. What numbers did you use? We like 100s today. Okay? 100 and 100. Any 2 numbers that are the same. And then I see that we've got 2 boxes down here, but the alligator mouth is facing the left. So Lydia, what numbers did you use? 51 and what? 22. I think that that looks great. 51 is definitely bigger than 22, so your hungry alligator is happy now. We'll go over here to the story problem next. Hey, remember when we do story problems, we make sure we read it and we underline the important parts. Think about what kind of problem it is, and then we do it. So let's read through the problem. Tim has 17 pens. He loses 6 pens. How many pens does Tim have now? Okay, so we read through our problem. Now we need to underline the important parts. What should I underline? Hannah, what's one thing I should underline? Pens. I need to know what I'm talking about. Peyton, what's something else I should underline? The 17 and the 6. Okay. So I know that those are my important numbers. I'm going to write those down here. And I know that later I need to have pens. I'm going to write that in. Okay. Now we're on to our think. Okay. So when I think, I'm thinking, is it a plus or a minus problem? If he loses 6 pens, Amelie, what does that make you think? Subtraction. If he's losing his pens, they're gone. It's some more, it's some and then some less. Okay, he lost some pencils or pens. So I've got 17 minus 6. That looks like a problem that I know how to do. What did you get, Hannah?
11.
11. 11 is not the correct answer. It's 11
Pens.
pens. Thank you. Remember, if you don't tell me what the problem's about, I think they're about elephants, and 11 elephants is not the right answer. It is 11 pens. Good job on that one. Let's move over to our pattern to finish us off. Okay. I see 2 numbers next to each other, so I need to figure out how big of a jump that is. I know I'm going up, so I need a plus sign here. How big of a jump is that, Peyton? 2. Okay. So if I want to jump up 2 again, where does that take me? It takes me to 5. And then what about the next line, Eli? 7. And then where am I going to next, Gracie? 9. Okay.
It looks like we're jumping by 1.
And then on the problem down below, okay, I don't know how big of a jump this is, but if I come over here, okay, those are right next to each other. How big of a jump is it to go from 14 to 16, Amelie?
10.
Not 10. 14 to 16. You're trying to do 4 to 6. Hannah, help her out. 2s again. Okay. So I can come back here to the 10. I know that I need to do plus 2. What is 10 plus 2, Peyton? 12. And then what goes down here on the end? Eli? 18. Okay. Before we move on, let's take a look at this real quick. What do you notice about these numbers that I am highlighting? Give you a second to think. Tyler, you need to turn that off, bud. Thank you. What do you notice about these numbers, Peyton? These are all of our odd numbers that we talked about yesterday. Okay? 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And then if I come down here, what do you notice about these numbers that I'm highlighting, Hannah?
Even.
These are all of our even numbers. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down here. We'll write them again just one more time so we remember them super, super good. So our odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And then our even numbers, 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then to help you guys remember this a little bit, I've got a fancy trick and I'll have to draw it here so the friends at home can see it. If I hold up my hand in front of you, excuse my poorly drawn hand. Oh boy.
That was actually pretty good.
All right, we'll count that as a hand today, I guess. If I have my hand up in front of me, okay, if I put my finger right here, okay, that would be counting to 0. That is one of our even numbers. If I come up here and count on the tip of my thumb, okay, that would be 1, which is one of my odd numbers. And then if I go between my fingers, okay, hold up your hands, so 0, 1, between your fingers, 2, which is even, go back up top, 3, which is odd, go between the next finger, 4, which is even, go up to the next finger, 5, which is odd, between the next fingers, you get 6, which is even, up to the next finger is 7, which is another odd, and then 8 is even, and 9 is odd. And then even if you came down here, down to the next gap, that would be 10, and that's still even. Okay? So if you're having trouble remembering where your evens and odds are, hold your hand out in front of you. And remember that you start next to your thumb, and then you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that tells you your odds and evens, okay? Your fingertips are the odd numbers.
Why are we going to do that?
You don't have to draw that. I'm just showing you.
I was like,
Another good way to think about even and odd numbers, okay? We're going to think about it as evens come in pairs, okay? So all of our even numbers have pairs. And here's what I mean by pairs. I don't mean the fruit, okay? I mean pairs of 2, things that go together, okay? So if I come here, make my pen a little bigger, if I draw these 4 dots, okay, we know that 4 is even. And here's why. Okay? This dot is partnered with this dot. And then this dot has a partner right here. Okay? So every dot has a partner. Every dot has a pair. Okay? If every dot in that number has a partner, that makes it an even number. So let's check that with one of our odd numbers. Okay? Make our pen bigger. Switch to blue. So if I have my 5 dots here, I've got 1 pair, I've got 2 pair, and then does that last dot have a partner? No, so that is going to be an odd number. Okay. Whenever we're thinking even and odds, like yesterday on your IXL, they used pictures instead of numbers. If you figured it out, if you just found out if there was 1 dot left over at the end when you made pairs, then that helps you know if it's an even or an odd number. So let's look real quick. I'm going to draw some green dots here, and you tell me if it's going to be an even or an odd number. What do we think? Odd. Okay. So this one is odd because it's got one little partner here that's left out. Okay. Before we even knew that it was 7, we could tell that it was odd right away. And if I go down here, I'm gonna try to trick you. Yeah, I turned them sideways this time. What do we think? Even or odd here, Eli? Okay. Every dot has a partner here. So this is going to be an even one. There are 8 dots, but even if you just look at the dots, we know that it's going to be even. Okay. Does anybody have questions on the dots? So if I asked you to make the dots for an even number and an odd number, you could do that for me? Okay. Why don't you go scroll down, write even on one side, write odd on the next side, and then draw me some dots. And we'll make sure that you guys have it correct. I think you guys do. We'll just do one practice one real quick. I don't care how many dots you do, just even on the even side and odd on the odd side. Just scroll down. Yep, just scroll down, make more space. You don't have to make my big fancy chart. Just show me what an even number of dots would look like and then what an odd number of dots would look like. You can do as many or as few as you want. I wouldn't pick a huge number though, because putting that many dots would take forever. Alrighty, I'm gonna pick on Hannah's dots first. Her dots look like this. Do we agree that looks like an even number? Do they all have partners? I think so too. And then I'm gonna pick on Gracie for her odd numbers. She's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on top. 1, 2, 3, 4 below. Does every dot have a partner? No, so that makes it an odd number. All right. Kind of the same way as the dots. Okay. Think about our 10 frames that we've seen a couple times. Might have to think back to first grade. I think everybody's seen it on Prodigy if you've been playing that. Okay. If we have our big 10 frame like this, okay, we can fill in those dots just like we were doing. So if I have 7 on my 10 frame, it's real easy to see that that one doesn't have a partner. One other thing we can do with this, okay, think back to yesterday when we were underlining the important number. Okay, if I have 77, I know that I have this last number is all I want to pay attention to. If I put those 7 dots in there, that means 77 is odd. Okay, say this last number changes to a 4. Put 4 dots in there. They all have partners. Now it's an even number. Okay. So no matter how they show you the number, whether it's in a 10 frame, whether they give you dots, whether they just write it plain and simple like the 74, okay, all we care about is this last number. And then we have to figure out if it's got an odd number of dots, if there's one left out, or if everybody has a partner. Once you get pretty good at it, you'll just know all the even numbers and all the odd numbers. Okay, you can think about your hand trick that we did. You can see if it's one of the spaces between your fingers or if it's on top of a finger. Last thing I want to talk about today. Let's switch over to purple. When we are adding, I want you guys to see what happens here. Okay. Let's look at these numbers first. Is 1 odd or even? Eli? Odd. that O better. Is 3 odd or even? Tyler, you need to be quiet for me, bud. Is 3 odd or even? Hillary? Odd. Okay. What is 1 plus 3? What's that answer? 4. What is 4 though? Is that an even or an odd number? Gracie?
Even.
Even. Okay. Let's do another problem and think about it. If I do 2 and 6, what does that equal? 8. And I think that 2 is even, 6 is even. What about 8? Hillary? That's also even. No, it's okay if you're just following along. So if I have an odd number and I add an odd number, I get an even number. If I add an even number to another even number, I still get an even number. Okay? So if I'm adding the same kind of number together, then it's going to be even no matter what. Let's see what happens when I add an odd number and an even number. So I want to do an odd and then an even, and we'll see what happens. Excuse my handwriting. So let's pick an odd number. Let's do 5, and we'll pick 4 for a nice even number. What is 5 plus 4? Lydia? 9. Is that odd or even? Odd. Okay. If I add 2 of the same kinds together, so up here I did odd and odd, that makes even. If I do even and even, that still makes even. But if I do different kinds of numbers, if I do odd and even and I mix them, then it stays odd. So think way back up top, all the way back up to our warm-up problem. We were counting by 2 each time, right? And 2 is even. So when we were doing an odd number plus an even number, we got an odd number. Add another even number, it's still odd. Add another even number, it's still odd. Down here, even number plus an even number, it stayed even. And then they stayed even all the way down. Okay. One way that that can help us on our pattern problems, if I see that I have, let's start, if I have 5, and then I have 8, then I go on and I have to figure out those two. Okay. If I'm starting odd, and then I go to an even number, okay, so if I start odd, and then I end up at an even number, then I know that the number I'm going up by needs to be odd. Okay? So what number am I going up by here? By 3's, okay? So that's an odd number and an odd number, and they make an even number. Okay? So I know that every time, well, not every time since I'm adding by odd number. Okay? The next one's going to have to be an odd number because I am doing an even, and then I do an odd. So then my 11 turns back into an odd. So then the next number, whatever it would have to be even. Okay? It'll flip-flop if I'm adding by an odd number. Okay? Did I lose anybody on that one? All right. Let's take a quick peek at our IXL for today. And you guys will have some quiet work time to get started. I don't know why mine always starts in kindergarten. We need to be in 2nd grade. We are going to do A19. Okay? A19. Get pulled up here. it's still just between even and odd. And think about it with the last number. Use your, if you can't remember which one's odd and even, if you want to draw dots for it. So my first question up here we'll do together, and then I'll turn you guys loose to start working. It says, which of the following numbers are odd? Okay, so there's more than one answer here. Which ones do I need to click on? Who sees an odd I need to click on? Peyton? One. There it is. What else do I need to click on? Lydia? 5. Okay, do I need to click on the 4, Ellery? No. Gracie, do I need to click on the 2? No, those are both even numbers. Admit that, and that's right. This should have different kinds of questions once you get up a little bit higher, but should pros and odds. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some quiet work time. Friends at home, if you need a little help when we have our Zoom meeting later, feel free to ask for help. Thank you for joining in. We'll see you guys tomorrow.